everyone, and welcome to DMC's first ever live webinar. My name is Lexi, and I will be your host today. In today's session, we will be going over LaceLok, an innovative new solution for secondary wire harness support. We'll talk about its advantages over traditional methods, real-world use cases, and everything in between. Before we get started here, I want to introduce my speakers. Today, I'm joined by Ben and Holden. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Ben Splinter. I'm the government sales manager here at DMC. Been here for a couple of years. Retired Air Force, and then been here loving DMC ever since. So,
hi everyone. Holden David. I'm in the design engineering department here at DMC. Mainly work with custom tooling projects and new product development.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here today. And also thank you to our attendees for tuning in for today's session. If you have any questions during today's webinar, feel free to leave them in the Q&A tab that will be at the bottom of your screen. We'll either answer them as we go on or at the end during our dedicated Q&A section. So let's dive in, but before we get right into LaceLok, let's take a step back and talk about those traditional bundling methods. So Ben, with your experience in the Air Force, tell us a little bit about those pain points you experienced with hand-tied lacing tape or zip ties.
Yeah, definitely. So LaceLok was developed to address specific problems, right, in the user community for the maintainers applying hand-tied methods. So what it really addresses is inconsistent tension. So previously, that most people use like a zip tie gun, right, and you can adjust the tension on it. So that was part of the problem, is they were doing too much tension, causing damage, as well as operator fatigue. So a lot of times the knot people were tying the first 10 minutes of their shift was the same knot they tied at hour 8. So with the tool, it's a consistent, repeatable process that you can avoid that problem of having user fatigue or distractions, things like that, as well as performance. LaceLok has been tested in numerous chemical environments: fuel, hydro, grease, temperature. So it's been tested by NAVAIR, AFRL. Pretty much every prime is tested as well. So yeah, it's got a pretty good pedigree behind it, and like I said, it's really been kind of developed to address those maintainer problems of inconsistencies and fatigue.
And something that a lot of our customers ask us is the time impact that we might see with LaceLok. So can you tell us about, can customers save time using LaceLok?
Yeah, definitely. So tying LaceLok traditionally is kind of a skills-based process, right? You have, Bob that's been on the floor for 30 years. He's probably pretty fast at hand tying knots, but again, it's a tooling process. It's another tool in the cabinet. So whenever your maintainer is, like I said, coming on shift, sure, one-by-one comparison is probably very similar. But where LaceLok really shines is over the duration of a shift or over the duration of assembling a wire harness. That long run of hand tying, you're probably going to fatigue or make mistakes and have to redo them, versus with the tooling option, it's, like I said, again, a repeatable process. So you're going to see more time savings over the duration of a shift versus a one-on-one comparison. So,
well, would you mind giving us a demo showing us how fast LaceLok really is?
Yeah, definitely.
So
you're going to run LaceLok similarly to what you would as the traditional hand tie. So anywhere you use traditional hand ties, you can use the LaceLok. I'm just going to tighten this around the bundle, run it back through the buckle. After 2 or 3 squeezes the trigger, the LaceLok will terminate.
Awesome. And we also have an animation to show you. I could see LaceLok a little bit closer up there. Let's switch gears. Qualification is really important to a lot of our customers. So Holden, can you walk us through how LaceLok is qualified and what standards and approvals it meets?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll drop a link down below to a lot of the standards and regulations that LaceLok is related to. But to say, LaceLok is mil-spec qualified as a cable lacing fastener for secondary wire harness support. So there's a few standards, specifically IPC 620 and also AS 50881, that detail out the methods and application requirements for those fasteners. So LaceLok specifically is qualified to mill detail 32554, while the tools to apply those fasteners is 32555.
Right. Awesome. Well, we know that quality is really important for a tool to be able to get qualified. And a lot what has to do with the quality of a tool is the materials that it's made of. So Holden, what can you tell us about the materials that LaceLok is made of and why they matter?
Sure. So, given that these fasteners will be installed on aerospace vehicles, they need to be able to withstand those harsh environments. So, you have vibration, you have heat, and possibly even exposure to jet fuel or hydraulic fluid. So, LaceLok is rated for a temperature of -65 to 250 degrees Celsius. And for instance, the fastener is made of PEEK, which is a pretty common thermoplastic in aerospace applications, which is good for high strength to weight ratio. The tape itself is actually made of a meta-aramid fiber along with the thread used to apply the tape to the fastener. Another good thing for LaceLok is that there's an elastomer coating on the lace, which kind of helps really keep the lace in the position on the bundle and keep the tension on the bundle.
Right, awesome. Well, you mentioned fuel resistance. So JP8 resistance comes up a lot from our customers. So how does LaceLok handle exposure to that kind of fuel?
Yeah, so that is a common exposure. And actually, per the mill detail 32554, which is what the lace is qualified to, there's an immersion requirement. So the lace itself has been terminated, immersed in JP8 fuel for up to 1,000 hours, and then tested afterward. And it still maintains its function and form.
Awesome. So we're going to switch gears here to the fun side. So then we're going to get into performance. So from a performance standpoint, what really separates LaceLok from the other fastening methods?
Yeah, for sure. First, I want to say thanks for calling me the fun side. I appreciate that. So, really, performance-wise, LaceLok is a lot lighter than the traditional like zip ties. And this is kind of important, especially in the aviation industry, right? Because weight is always a concern. So it's lighter than most zip ties. It lasts longer, so you're looking at longer durations in between replacing. It eliminates the potential for over tightening. So with both hand tying and zip ties, there is a potential that maintainers can put too much tension on the cable, which can lead to chafing issues or signal degradation. So there's a lot of issues that resolves. But additionally, kind of like what Holden said, when it was tested to UV light, chemical resistance, things like that. So performance wise, you're going to see a big increase. And additionally, just the life of the maintainer is easier because nothing is more annoying than when you're reaching the panel and you get stabbed by that sharp point of the zip tie. So just the daily use of it's much more enjoyable. It's a soft fabric rather than a hard plastic point. So
right, I have definitely experienced being stabbed by zip ties using them at home, so I understand the pain. You mentioned tension a little bit, so let's talk tension. Can the tension be controlled or altered by the operators?
So no, this is one of the big benefits for the maintainers on the tool itself. So the tool itself isn't a calibrated tool. The secret sauce, if you will, kind of comes in the fastener head. So the way it's designed is the fastener head breaks at 20 pounds plus or minus 2. And that alleviates the need for a calibrated tool. So the tool is going to pull no matter what. And then that fastener head is designed to break. So when you wrap around the cable harness and you actually terminate the fastener, you're looking at 55 pounds around the cable harness assembly. And then we'll kind of talk about a little later, but you can actually increase that tension if there's a need for it. So
right. And I see we have a question that just came in. They asked, can I use the leftover material again? Ben, how would you answer that?
I appreciate the thrifty attitude, but no, you can't. So once it's terminated, that leftover material is pod. So
right. Okay. So another thing that we see with traditional methods is harness breakouts. Ben, can LaceLok do the same thing?
Yes, definitely. So you're going to follow the guidance that you would normally follow when it comes to your breakout methodology. So a lot of platforms have specific engineering guidance, and there should be an animation on the screen right now that kind of shows the process for using breakouts. But yeah, like I said, follow the same practices you follow now with LaceLok. So as I tell most people, anywhere you hand tie, you can apply LaceLok as well. So.
Right. And then can LaceLok achieve higher tensile strengths when necessary?
Definitely. So there's, like I mentioned before, there's certain needs sometimes, whether you're wrapping fiber optic cables or coaxial cables. Sometimes you want a little higher tensile strength, and that is achieved by doing those multiple wraps. So like I said, one wrap is 55 pounds, 2 is 110, 3 is 165. And again, you'll probably have some direction that kind of dictates that for you. But yes, you can definitely achieve that for sure.
Yeah, and we have a short video we'll show you on multiple wraps. Awesome. So some more information there about multiple wraps. Ben, we get a lot of customer questions again about concerns that lace will shift from its original position. So is there any method or advice that you would give to our customers about that with LaceLok?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a process called the lock stitch method. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to run the lace around another piece of the cable and the harness assembly. And there is an image that should be shown here. Um, so as long as you install lace lock, you don't want to see it shift more than a quarter inch. If there is some shifting, that's probably where this lock stitch method may come into play. Um, but yeah, definitely. I mean, you can use it for high vibration environments, things like that. So.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure by this point we have many interested attendees interested in purchasing LaceLok. So, Holden, can you walk us through the purchasing process of LaceLok and the part number breakdown?
Sure. So we'll actually share a link below where LaceLok can be purchased directly off our website. It can also be purchased over the phone or by submitting a typical purchase order.
So, perfect. So, what length options are available for our customers, and why does that matter?
Yeah, sure. So we'll show an image on the screen of kind of the part breakdown and the length options. But the tool itself is sold under the DMC part number DLT-1100 or by the military part number. The lace is sold under the DMC part number LF2 and then the length and color codes. Same fashion with the military part number. It would be M32554- and then the length and color codes.
Perfect. So, how would a customer know which length to purchase for their wire harness?
Sure. So it kind of depends on the application. As kind of Ben was saying earlier, if you're looking for an application where you need higher number of tension on the bundle, you may need 2 or 3 wraps. So in which case you might go from say like a 10-inch piece of lace to say an 18-inch piece of lace. But it also depends really on the size of the bundle, the number of wires in it, and the size of the wires in this bundle.
And color is another variable. So, what color options exist?
Yes, we have 11 color options ranging from, say, natural white, which is our NA1 color code, natural white with a dark tracer, which is our NA2, and then another popular one is BLK, which is the black lace.
Right. And I know there's also a pink option available, and that is definitely my favorite. Um, so, we know about the color and length options that are available, but another thing on our website is outgas LaceLok. We see a lot of customers in aviation adopting LaceLok, but tell us about what makes outgas LaceLok outgas and usable for space applications.
Yeah, so LaceLok has been tested and qualified and complies to the requirements of ASTM E595, which is sort of an outgassing technique for ensuring that components are safe with space travel. So LaceLok is put under a vacuum at an elevated temperature for 24 hours, and that helps release any of the gases that are trapped within the actual lace itself.
So, well, let's switch gears to moving back to the installation process. Ben, based on what you've seen in the field, what installation tips make the biggest difference for customers that might be trying out LaceLok for the first time?
Yeah, patience. It's a great tool, but with every tool is practice and there's a process to follow. So a couple of things I would definitely caution people on is make sure when you're running your lace, the lace isn't twisted.
Right.
That could affect how a fastener shoots. As well as kind of supporting the wire harness as you're doing the install. It just makes it a little more comfortable if you have your fingers up on the nose and stuff like that to kind of support, make sure it's parallel with the cable. And then side loading through the cap stand. That's another big thing that we see a lot of people try to run the lace under the nose of the tool. So basically, if you look at the tool running it along the back side, that's not really what you want to do. As you hold the cable, you want to side load it into the cable, into the tool, which helps out a lot. So.
Awesome. And we also have a best practices guide that will pop up the link on the screen. It was made by our national account executives who work with our customers every day, training them on LaceLok. So speaking of training, what kind of training does DMC offer for our customers?
Yeah, like you mentioned, we have NAEs across the US, and we love coming out and doing training sessions. So I would say if you ever have any questions or you want to see a demo or if you just want to try it on the spot and see if it's applicable for you, definitely reach out to the NAEs. They're all listed on our website under the About Us section, I believe. But yeah, we're more than happy to stop out, do on-site training, and kind of let you guys play with the tool and build up some familiarity with it. So
awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. So what we've gathered is LaceLok is the superior wire harness bundling system with its consistency, design, and overall just great performance. You can check out the link in our resources tab for the easiest way to purchase LaceLok. And like Ben and I were mentioning earlier, we have our national account executives strategically placed across the United States that will be more than happy to come out for a demo or on-site training. We also, of course, have our in-house customer service team that would be more than willing to answer any questions that you might have. And we'll pop up some links as well to our website where you can check out additional literature and tutorial videos. So now we'll start reviewing some questions that we received during the webinar. I see one here, Holden. Is LaceLok referenced in TO11A14?
To be honest, I'm not too familiar with that spec. Are you, Ben?
It is, yeah. So the Dash 14 and the 505 are the same manual, or the same technical order, and it is referenced in there. So yes. And it's funny that question's asked because we were referencing zip ties. Zip ties are actually prohibited in those technical orders. So your options are either to do the traditional hand tying method or LaceLok. So, and I think this is probably the preferable method. So
yeah. Another question that came in was, can these be used to secure harness labels?
Yeah, so we have had a manufacturer do that as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why not. So as long as you don't have anything like specific guidance that tells you how to fix the label, I don't think you'd be violating anything. But yeah, for sure.
Okay, the next question is it possible to get samples to evaluate?
Yeah, and like I said, the easiest way would probably be to reach out to your NAE for your region, wherever you're located. We're more than happy to, like I said, send some stuff and yeah, do some demos for you. Like I said, the best thing to do is just get it in your hands and play with it. I think once you start using the tool, you're really going to see the benefits of it. So yeah, for sure, we're more than happy to send some.
And you guys can drop any additional questions that you might have in the Q&A tab at the bottom. Ben, while we have some time before any more questions come in, do you want to talk us through any, struggles that you've experienced with zip ties or the hand-tied lacing tape?
They're just not fun. So, I mean, yeah, you're out in the aircraft for, 8, 10, 12 hours. Your hands get greasy. Hand tying isn't a lot of fun. So, and yeah, I have a very strong just hate relationship with zip ties. So.
Yeah, from our experience at trade shows, we get a lot of customers coming up and we're introducing them to LaceLok, and they don't know a lot about it, but they have described their hatred for zip ties as well, and showing me the cuts on their hands. And it definitely doesn't seem like a fun product to work with.
Yeah, for sure. And it wasn't my story, but I'm going to rip off someone else's story. We did go to a Lockheed facility, and yeah, we walked in, and the guy was doing the cable harness securing and held his hands up, and they were just bloody. And he was like, "I've been waiting for you so long." So,
well, I'm glad we could assist him. Okay. So another question that came in was, is this recording available for future reference for others to see at a later date? And that will bring me to my next point of, shortly after we wrap up, you'll receive an email with additional resources regarding LaceLok and a recording of today's video. So you will be able to see it and pass it along to your team members if you would like to. So if there's no further questions, we'll wrap this up here. We hope to see you again at our next webinar for Safety Cable. It is on June 3rd at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there, and thank you so much for attending.